Is there an unfair narrative on Lamar Jackson?
I hate this question because life isn't fair.
Yes,
right?
that part.
I will answer it like this. There is an unfair narrative around Lamar Jackson, but it is what it is, so change it. Lamar Jackson is being stereotyped. The thing about stereotypes is they exist not because anything you've done, but they exist because of what people have done who have come before you who look like, act like, dress like, or sound like you. Stereotypes exist not because of what you've done, but because of what people have done before you who look like, dress like, act like, or sound like you. Lamar Jackson is being stereotyped. That is his narrative. Hey, Lamar, you cannot win a Super Bowl. But what has Lamar done for you to say he can't win a Super Bowl? He won the Heisman Trophy in college. He's unanimous MVP in the NFL. So why in the world, Sel, can people fix their lips to say, well, Lamar, you can't win a Super Bowl? Why is that narrative on him? Because the people who look like and play like Lamar Jackson that came before Lamar Jackson have not won it. And I'm not talking about complexion alone. I'm talking look like as far as style of games. I think about Michael Vick. I think about Robert Griffin. I think about Cam Newton. These are quarterbacks who we know are beasts and terrors with their legs. Terrors with their legs. But it was Robert Griffin's first season that was the pinnacle of his athletic career. Phenomenal announcer at this point in time. It was Michael Vick's fourth season. That was the pinnacle of his athletic career. It was Cam Newton's fifth season. That was the pinnacle of his athletic career. So Lamar Jackson is being stereotyped for no fault of his own, but you got to look at the players that look like and play like Lamar Jackson, the players that are more of terrors with their legs than anybody else in the National Football League. He's being stereotyped. Is it unfair? Absolutely. But when you are stereotyped, you got to break the narrative. I got so many places to go here, and I'm going to go all of here on my first layer. Bear with me, y'all buckle up. I've been stereotyped.
I'm listening.
Sel, you've been stereotyped. Oh, and in all actuality, we share the same stereotype. Dumb jock. Dumb jock.
That part.
Athletes are thought to be dumb jocks. So what did Marcellus Vernon Wiley have to do to rid himself of the dumb jock stereotype? It may have been intentional. It may have been incidental. But nonetheless, he chose to go to Columbia.
Damn right.
Once you go to Columbia, you are no longer deemed a dumb jock. Go to any other place non-Ivy League, and you still deemed a dumb jock. But what did Marcellus have to do? You had to go to Columbia just to rid yourself of a label. Dumb jock, Emmanuel Acho. So what did I have to do? I had to get my master's degree in sports psychology while simultaneously playing in the NFL. I am taking exams from Philadelphia, zooming into class after OTAs from Philly, zooming into my classes in Austin at the University of Texas because I wanted to rid myself of the dumb jock label. I did not need the degree in sports psychology at that point in time, but I knew this much. I didn't need nobody thinking I was stupid. So I had to go above and beyond to rid myself of the stereotype. As I wind down Lamar Jackson, the stereotype is simple. You can't win a Super Bowl. So what does Lamar Jackson have to do to rid himself of that stereotype? You got to go above and beyond. You got to go to Columbia, sir. You got to win your Super Bowl. You got to get your master's degree while being in the league. You got to win your Super Bowl. It's not enough to be unanimous MVP. Just like it's not enough to get an A in a class. You can get an A in a class and still be a dumb jock. You can graduate from the University of Texas and people will still call you a dumb jock. You got to go to Columbia. You got to get a master's. You got to get a doctorate. Nobody's calling Myron Rolle, Rhodes Scholar, now turned neurosurgeon, a dumb jock anymore.
Right.
Played at Florida State. Drafted into the National Football League, but became a neurosurgeon. Ain't nobody calling him a dumb jock anymore. Lamar Jackson has to become the neurosurgeon, if you will, of his field, winning a Super Bowl to rid himself of the narrative. It may be unfair, but it's reality.
Oh, you said a lot. I can't imagine you have more to say because that was so profound. Let's go deeper than that.
Please do,
Let's go deeper than that. I'm with you. I start off in the same place. Life's unfair, so let's not even go into that conversation. But to answer the question, there is a very unfair narrative around Lamar Jackson. And it's deeper than stereotype. Stereotype is one layer. Stereotype is like, all y'all make me think this, and I'm just going to extract just this one slither of what I think of all you guys in generalization, right? And stereotypes do exist because they live in reality. Like, you got this from something, but you grouped it together to say this is who we are. This is not what Lamar Jackson's going through. He's going through something worse than a stereotype.
Talk to me, sir.
Lamar Jackson suffered from and I hate to do this because I love this man, respect this man, and still have a great relationship in terms of my thoughts of this man. Bill Polian poisoned the well on Lamar Jackson. That's deeper than stereotype, because stereotype is like, well, I see you, you remind me of them, so I'm going to say what I think of them to you.
Yeah, that's good.
Poison the well is, I've seen all of them, but I see you, and I'm going to say this to you. And what he told Lamar Jackson, basically in so many words, was, you shouldn't even be playing quarterback. Now, if it was a stereotype, it would have fit into like, well, you may be a Michael Vick, you may be a Steve McNair, you may something of that nature. There are positives that you could have pulled from. There are also some negatives as well you could pull from. But he didn't do that. He just told this man individually, you shouldn't be playing the quarterback position. Whew, that's different. Now, let me tell you why that's different. Because now everyone, because we all revere, Bill Polian said it. Hold a minute. Whoa, you don't want to be wrong. So you hold your breath, waiting for that confirmation bias. And no matter what Lamar Jackson does, you still don't want to be wrong because someone higher than high told you he shouldn't even be playing that position. So this is what Lamar Jackson is faced with. His good is never good enough to shut them up for good. His good is never good enough to shut them up for good. Case in point. This conversation happens after you win a Heisman Trophy, and most purists say you played even better the next year, but your team lost games. This still happened. Poison the well. Lamar Jackson goes to the NFL. Leads the league in passing touchdowns, which is nearly impossible if you can't play quarterback. And if you play quarterback, it's still nearly impossible because how many guys can do that? He did that, and people still holding their breath. Confirmation bias. He goes and wins a unanimous MVP. He saves jobs. He gets his team to the playoffs and hasn't been in the playoffs in 5 years, and people still holding their breath, waiting for something. He's going to get hurt. Like every other quarterback that ever has played has gotten hurt. But when he gets hurt, see, I told you. What you tell me? That every other quarterback gets hurt? Tom Brady missed the entire year. You told me that too? Nothing Lamar Jackson can do will make people finally exhale and give him his props. So therefore, to me, the narrative is unfair.
It's about to be a good show.
Are we going there?
It's one of those shows where I'm like, I hope the world is watching. It's about to be at least one of our best blocks. Yeah. So then Lamar Jackson has to take it upon himself to be perfect. Hard to do. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
but that's life to some degree. You have been in jobs, I would assume, not NFL playing jobs, but probably when you talk about more so real world jobs, where it's like, man, because I know people are looking for me to act a certain way, I now have to go above and beyond acting a different way just to make sure I don't give them any bias to confirm.
Yes.
First got on television, the hair wasn't high. I don't know if I've told you this or not. I think we've had this story. Hair wasn't high, had no stripes in it. Even all around, low cut. As prim, proper, using all the big words as possible. Because when you saw Emmanuel Acho, what you were going to believe was, oh, just intelligent. I wasn't going to let you try to group the dumb jock stereotype in case there were any racial stereotypes. I was going to dismember you and dismantle you from those stereotypes. I was just going to be the most prim, proper, astute, intelligent person that you would see. Until I infiltrate the system, then I'm going to be me.
Yeah.
You got to be perfect. Not fair at all. Not fair in life, not fair in society, not fair for none of that. It's not fair that some women have to put more bass in their voice so people can take them more seriously. Got to put some extra umph in their handshake so people don't perceive them as weak or too feminine. Not fair they have to be docile so people don't perceive them as a prick. None of it's fair.
Dang.
But as we all know, it's real. What do I mean? Lamar Jackson, it is not fair that you aren't allowed to get injured or people are going to look to you for confirmation bias, but it is real. Very unfair, very unfortunate, but it's real. I think about this last season, Lamar Jackson ended in injury.
Yeah.
I think about the season before, Lamar Jackson ended in injury. Lamar Jackson has started for 3.5 seasons. 2 of those 3.5 have ended in injury. Lamar, if people are saying because you run, you are more likely to be hurt, and you get hurt, even if you didn't get hurt because you were running. Because keep in mind, the injury this past season was not because Lamar Jackson was in the act of true forward running. People looking for the bias to confirm.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people at home might not like what I'm saying, even though I think based on our off-camera conversations, you do to some point adhere to it because you're not an excuse person. You're be greater than your greatest excuse.
Yeah.
That's what Lamar Jackson's faced with, Sel. Yeah. He has to be greater than other people's greatest excuse, and he has to be better than other people's bias.
All facts. All facts. Here's the problem. Lamar Jackson plays a game where there are objective measures. The thing I love most in transitioning from football to the real world, the thing I missed the most and loved the most about football was that it was an objective measurement. Why? We had a scoreboard, big dog. How many points we got? How many points they got? Simple as that. You get into the real world, you start getting into these murky waters of how someone just feels about you. But where I'm from, football, don't matter how you feel about me, I'm getting these sacks. And that's how you feel about me. You get into the real world, well, it's just, are we buddies?
That's a good point.
Are we brunching together? Like, you're like, and it took me a while to just like recalibrate. What's the scoreboard in the real world that's not existing? Because in our world, it does exist. Lamar Jackson on the scoreboard of football, I would trade my 10-year career in for his 4-year, 3.5-year career right now. Lamar Jackson has already surpassed me. And he can't even get the full props that come from that level of greatness this fast. He has the most wins of any quarterback in history, age 25 or younger. You don't hear that. You don't feel that. You don't think of that when you think of Lamar Jackson. People are constantly trying to pull Lamar Jackson down instead of either rising to where he has taken his franchise and his game or trying to pull him up. So here's the thing. When you said stereotype, I love that point. Because you could pick anything if you want to for a stereotype. If I want to say it, what's the opposite of dumb jock? Oh, my God, he is a true student athlete. Well, I got Myron Roll in, right? I got Richard Sherman in, right? When I want to talk about a running quarterback, why do I have to pick the ones that struggle? Why not say Steve Young? Oh, because complexion, don't be that lazy. Why not say Steve McNair? He was in a Super Bowl, right? How come I ain't say Russell Wilson? He actually won a Super Bowl. See, this is the thing. That's why I don't want to let anyone off the hook in terms of how you guys are all culpable if you're not giving him his props. To me, the beats of this are the same as the beats in cancel culture. Whereas somebody will go back and be like, see, I told you, see what they did? And try to use that to damn that person when you don't even understand that person is A, not that same person, B, moved on, or 3, that's what that was at that moment. But it's not just specific to that person. But this is worse than cancel culture to me. I'm going to call it like a sports example, sports phrasing. It ain't cancel culture in sports. It's Carmelo culture. Carmelo Anthony used to walk around this planet and people used to look at him like he was crumbs. And I was like, when are we ever going to give Carmelo Anthony his full amount of props? I hate to see it because it's happening right now. It's happening. Kyrie Irving, degree of it. Kevin Durant, degree of it. Carmelo had the whole full branding of, I'm not going to give you what you deserve because you haven't won it all. I'm looking at Lamar Jackson, man. Not only is he dealing with stereotypes, but poison in the well, now he in Carmelo culture.
Let's dance. You said Kyrie Irving, degree of it. Carmelo Anthony, degree of it. I'm glad you used that word, degree. If we're being honest, Sel, going to college is fairly worthless publicly unless you get a degree. You can go to Columbia, but if you would have dropped out, congratulations, you went to Columbia and you didn't finish. Going to college is relatively worthless publicly if you don't get a degree. All the wins in the world at quarterback are relatively worthless publicly if you don't get a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford, the difference between his this year and his previous 12 or 13 is just a Super Bowl. Same Stafford, same dude. Difference, he got a ring. Dan Marino, we laugh at him when we talk about Super Bowl winners because he didn't get a Super Bowl. So you talk about that term degree. If you go to college and don't get a degree, we will scoff at your collegiate experience because all we are going to ask, like we will ask Lamar, where is your ring and where is your degree? Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Steve Young. The problem is that ain't this and this ain't that. I understand how Lamar himself would feel this way, and Lamar fans would be like, yo, look at Steve Young, look at Russell Wilson. The problem is they're just not comparable. When I look at the year that Steve Young won his Super Bowl, he had 13 passing yards to every 1 rushing yard. When I look at the year Russell Wilson won his Super Bowl, he had 6 passing yards to every 1 rushing yard. Aaron Rodgers, 11 passing yards to every 1 rushing yard. Those are the ratios that are closest to Lamar Jackson of Super Bowl winners when you talk passing to rushing. Lamar Jackson, conversely, has 2.7 passing yards to every 1 rushing yard. Lamar Jackson is not Steve Young, and Steve Young is not Lamar Jackson. Steve Young was passing the ball 6 times more, really probably closer to 5 or 4.5. Steve Young was passing the ball 4.5 more times than Lamar Jackson when you talk about rushing to passing, passing to rushing. So I understand the cats that are lazy. Just know I'm not one of them. I had to crunch the numbers so thoroughly to realize Lamar Jackson thus far in his career, 2.7 passing yards to 1 rushing. When you talk about the running quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls, their ratios don't even come close to that of Lamar Jackson. I don't say this to slander Lamar Jackson. Y'all know I think Lamar Jackson as an individual talent, incredible. I say this to say, if he is going to change the narrative, he's going to have to go above and beyond. Winning an MVP isn't enough. I know, sounds crazy, but Cam Newton won an MVP. Winning an MVP is not enough. Sounds crazy, but if Robert Griffin doesn't get hurt, I would submit he would win an MVP. Because oftentimes you win MVPs based off doing things we haven't seen before.
Yeah.
Not exclusively based off talent, but doing things we haven't seen before. Why do I say that? Because after we see it again, you don't win the MVP. Think about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook won the MVP the first time we saw a stat line like that since Oscar Robertson. The first time we saw a stat line like that. He averaged a triple-double. Westbrook averaged a triple-double 2 more times in his career. The following season. But didn't win an MVP. And so I would submit that the MVP is not enough. He has to get the degree. And the degree in football terms is a Super Bowl.
Okay. You crunch those numbers. The numbers are a little misleading.
How?
Let me give it
Please.
to you. I'm going to give it to you. Lamar Jackson, the best runner we've ever seen at the quarterback position.
Yes, sir.
Lamar Jackson, since he's been in the league, #1 in quarterbacks in terms of rushing yards, right? Lamar Jackson is like a top 10 running back, maybe top 5 running back. I remember you had that point. When you put him in a ratio of throwing to running, his running is so high, it's going to skew the ratio between passing and running relationship. Think about it. Other quarterbacks of yesteryear that you mentioned, and I don't want to bog down on this point, they had lesser running yards, so therefore the ratio seemed greater because they had high passing yards. Lamar Jackson's right there. But Lamar Jackson, damn, there's no gap between your rushing yards and your passing yards, which kind of misleads a little bit on that. But point well taken. Here we go. Lamar Jackson is in this position. Why didn't they say he's like John Elway? Why don't they say, since he's playing now, that he's on the Elway trajectory? I remember hearing about John Elway as the greatest prospect ever. And then every time they talk about a great prospect now, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck, like the next level guys, they always compare him to John Elway. That sounds like a positive stereotype. And John Elway was known as an athlete who could run and throw the football. 5th year in the league, he wins MVP. Lamar Jackson did it in his 2nd year. First year as a full-time starter, y'all. We're not hearing the John Elway comparisons at all because I think it's really lazy. I think it's really simple. John Elway didn't win a Super Bowl to what age? 37 years old. I don't hear the stereotypes that pull Lamar Jackson up. That's why I think it's more than just stereotypes. It's poisoning the well. We have too many great quarterbacks of yesteryear that we can pull and reference that can lift Lamar Jackson or can pull him down. But don't you notice that all they do is give them the ones that pull them down?
I love this. Again, I love this conversation. Sorry, y'all might be here for a second.
We're going to be here for a minute.
The reason you can't compare him to John Elway is because his career thus far has been nothing like it, in the sense that
Talk to me.
John Elway only started fewer games than Lamar Jackson started last season once in his career.
Okay.
His rookie season.
Yeah.
So Lamar Jackson, when we look at you waiting for you to get hurt, and the reason we look at you waiting for you to get hurt is because how much you run, and we know that our best runners, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, because we know that our best runners in football get hurt, and Lamar Jackson, you are a great runner, because we look at you waiting to get hurt, the second you get hurt, we're like, wait a second, Lamar, we knew that was going to happen. Furthermore, if somebody were to tell me, hey, let's compare Lamar to Elway, I would be so dangerously nervous. Because to your point, Elway didn't win a Super Bowls till he was 37 and 38.
Yeah.
Based on Lamar Jackson's style of play, he is not going to be able to play like he's playing now at 37 or 38. Lamar Jackson's rushing for 1,000 yards in seasons. No player that rushes for 1,000 yards in seasons is rushing for 1,000 yards in seasons, plural, after 33, 34. So Lamar Jackson, in my mind, based upon his style of play and the numbers of those that have come before him, his window is right here, right now. Ultimately speaking, and I'll end it like this, because I know we might see this topic one more time.
Yeah. That point.
Stereotypes are not fair. But you have to go above and beyond to break a stereotype, because people are looking for you to conform to the stereotype, even if you are nothing at all like the stereotype. Now, I would surmise to say Lamar Jackson is somewhat like the stereotypes of Robert Griffin, Michael Vick, Cam Newton, all those guys. Is he better? Absolutely. But unless he graduates from Columbia, which is winning a Super Bowl, I do think, unfortunately, he will always fall under that stereotype. And the last thing I'll say is it is to the behoovement of Lamar Jackson fans and Lamar Jackson himself that he comes to term with the hands that have been dealt. The biggest reason a lot of people fail is because they try to play the hand they wish they had instead of the hand they are dealt. This is the hand that Lamar Jackson has been dealt. Now you just got to figure out how to play that.
I'm with you, man. I'm with you because my experience, my actions support exactly what you're saying. And I don't think all stereotypes are bad, like just being real. Like, when I walk into a basketball gym, that's a good stereotype. Like, I don't know what, I can't play, so I'm going to really make the stereotype look bad. But it's good to get picked first every time I go to some open run. What the hell wrong with y'all? And I got other ones that help as well. Here we go. You ever have somebody tell you bad news two different ways? And I'll give it to you like this, because that lets you know that this ain't right, and somebody ain't telling the truth. Bill Polian told Lamar Jackson to the world, he said it shouldn't play that position. And now we're hearing different reasons. But what he said is, he ain't talking about injury. He's talking about you can't play that position. I don't see it translating, right? But now it's about injury. Now it's about how long you can play and availability. That's two different reasons for the same thing. Let's not do that. Let's keep it together. It's like me, Acho. All right. You're like, Sal, what you doing after the show? I was like, I'm going to this concert stuff. You're like, oh. I was like, oh, yeah, I didn't have any tickets, so you can go. And I was like, cool. All right. And then you ask my boy. He's like, I'm going with Sal. He's like, I thought you were going to go, Acho. He's like, but Acho, he said you were busy. Acho just said, I wanted to go. I wasn't busy, and I just told you there's no tickets. Polian said the dude can't play the position. Let's start there. Can he play the position? Isn't that pretty obvious? And if he can play the position, why are we still searching, holding our breath collectively just to say, you were right in confirmation bias? It's a lot deeper than just that stereotype, man. We're going to keep talking about this coming up.